you know everything that there is, there's no sense of discovery left.
No sense of wonder.
No sense of wonder. So don't ruin it for yourself. It's like the little kid who gets the cheat code and he cheats the game like on day one. And then he's like, this is boring. I've already flown around in the sky and shot lightning bolts out of my hands and killed all the big baddies in like 2 seconds. Well, now I've just ruined the game for myself. Don't ruin the game for yourself. So Trevor, last time I saw you, you were headed into your camp. How have things been going up there in Vermont?
They've been going really well. So there's a lot of work to get everyone up because obviously we weren't doing the camp. We were doing I don't know what we called it, like an administrative meeting. Basically, I was bringing up some alumni from previous years back to see if they would be compatible as the co-runner of the program with me. Because we're looking at expanding into multiple sessions here in the coming years. And
that'd be cool.
Kat, who currently runs it with me right now, may only be able to do 1 session a year, may be able to do more, but that's something that we're trying to plan for. So that was one of the objectives that we had. And so it was a lot of work to get everyone up because we didn't want anyone to take public transportation because they were coming from New York and Boston, and it's a lot of work, but because there was only a couple people, it was definitely manageable, and we got them all up. And it was really nice. It was really nice, I think, especially for them, because you get so used to wearing masks everywhere you go, and to just be able to come up here and just be like, yeah, I'm not going to wear a mask for a week and just breathe. Was really nice for them, and it was really productive for us. Half the time we were doing stuff to make sure that they would be able to run the camp with me, also help build things. Like one of the big things that we did this week was we transplanted some cedars from down by the pond up around the dojang. And actually, I think I have like a photo of that. That was a lot of fun because we just basically got to get out with shovels, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this. This is a photo of me with just a giant clump of earth.
Awesome. Yeah.
But because we're some places that we were transplanting, we're basically transplanting it right on bedrock. So we had to like enough soil that it could, reach out and actually get to the ground nearby. So we did stuff like that. It was also kind of a trial run of what a residency would look like. So half the day we did stuff for me and the camp, and the other half we did just their own artistic stuff. So we had one person who would just go out in the field and just paint, and she got a couple things done, which was really nice, and she'd share them with us at night. There was a musician who was just kind of composing, which was really nice. There's just kind of music in the background. So it was things like that, and then we'd like play board games every night. It was a lot of fun. It was really good. So that happened, and then it's been basically a week since, and I've been getting in my own rhythm, working on my own stuff, and that's been really nice. And that's kind of a little bit the topic of, I know what you wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, well, we wanted to talk about goal setting. It's something that is kind of intrinsic to the martial arts. Baked into the martial arts is a belt rank system that kind of helps us set some goals for ourselves, but it's really just a moniker to kind of get us putting our feet in the right direction. Goal setting needs to go above and beyond that. And I think we can talk about this from a lot of different angles. I think the first place to start is where my master kind of started teaching me about goal setting. He always told me, Michael, I want you to dream big. Don't try to have a small dream, have a big dream, but you need to break it down into bite-sized pieces and create a pathway for yourself to achieve your goals. You might want to become an astronaut, and that might seem like an incredibly impossible thing when you start putting your first feet in front of each other. But if you say, well, I need to become good at math and science and the things that I'm going to need to be good at to be an astronaut, over time, by taking small incremental steps, what seems impossible can become reality.
Yeah.
Um,
I know for myself, if I can just jump in, I used to, I feel like I used to be really, really good at goal setting. Like I was really productive in college. And I had my system, which I don't know if I've ever shared with people, but I used to basically write on my arm with pen my like things that I had to get done for the day.
yeah.
And it would end up that my entire arm was just like covered in sprawl. And it was great because once I got it done, I could cross it out, and I everywhere I went, it was right there. I didn't have to pull out a book. Every time I looked down at my arm, I saw, okay, this is what I have to get done. And it's really nice because when you take a shower, obviously that washes off. So if I didn't get it done, I had to take a shower and then rewrite it back down, which was like I didn't get it done. I have to write it down another time. So it made me very conscious of every time I didn't hit a mark that I set for myself. And that was a really great system. That worked for me really well. Now I'm an adult. That's a little less acceptable to have, like writing all over my arm. But I think I was also just in a place where I set a goal, got it done, set a goal, got it done. It wasn't necessarily like that particular system. I was just I had a lot of momentum. And kind of after college, I kind of went like, oh, great. I finished this huge milestone, and I kind of let a lot of my momentum drop and peter out. And it's been a real struggle to get that started again. And I've had spurts and episodes where I've been really highly productive and I've gotten stuff done, especially with my writing is a big thing. But one of the reasons why it's kind of on my mind is this week I basically finished the camp, the administrative meeting, and I've had a week just to myself to work on my personal stuff that I've let kind of fall by the wayside. And that has really helped me clarify kind of how I want to tackle that. And I can launch into that. I don't know if you had anything immediately that you wanted to say.
Well, when you were talking about how you were really productive in college and how it's been hard to be productive once you graduate college, it just reminded me of a stat that I heard a long time ago, and I'm not sure like what it's actually, if it's 100% true or not, but I think it's essentially true. Where like most of the Fortune 500 company owners never even graduated from college. I'm not sure what the exact number was. I can't remember what the percentage was, but there's a majority of them had never even gone to college. And I think the skills you need to be good in school are very different than the skills you need to be good in business and kind of in the world outside of school, because school tells you, do this assignment and you will get this grade. It like basically takes you by the hand and tells you what you need to do. And there are some very bright people that are incredibly good within the academic system that when they get out in the real world, they have trouble because they haven't developed the internal motivation and the goal setting that is really important for being successful on your own. And I think we all need to learn that. I mean, I think it's really admirable that you are so honest with yourself to realize that, because I think a lot of people don't realize that. They get out of college and they kind of get stuck, settle for some job that might not be the job they want because they never realize what they need to do to really get back up on that horse in a different arena and succeed like they were succeeding before in college.
Yeah. I know for myself, it was a very clear choice. I finished college and it was like, I can either immediately jump into something and just keep going, or I can basically take a vacation. Like, oh yeah, I'm done. And I took the latter, and the summer turned into the summer and the next semester, and then like a year. And so it just kind of crept up on me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, yeah, one of the things I want to talk about is, well, okay, this is great. We have goals. We have a big goal, and we need to break it down into small pieces. But how do we remind ourselves to stay on the path day in and day out? And one thing that my master told me, which I've always kind of tried to remember over the years, is write it down, put it someplace where you're going to see it every day, and tell people about your dream and your goals, because they're going to help you keep yourself accountable. When you say, I'm going to become an astronaut, and you say, and that means I need to become good at math and science, and you start talking a lot about this, your parents are going to say, well, you said you were going to become an astronaut, and you said you really had interest in becoming good at math and science, but I don't see you studying hard. You're going to feel like this pang of sort of pride. Your pride's going to get like hurt a little bit, and that's actually might be a good thing, because it's going to keep you motivated to staying on that path and moving forward and keeping working on your math and your science and the things that you need to do to become an astronaut like you wanted to be. And then also having it written down and placed, just writing it down will help you sort of think through what are your goals, you know, and what are the steps you need to take to get there. And then putting it someplace where you're going to see it every day will help solidify those goals and remind you to keep on that path.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because I am reminded that basically I stopped journaling after I got out of college. And that's one of the things that I've been doing. And I'm not saying like, oh, I've been really productive this week. That means that I will, of course, be as productive as I was before. I know that it's going to be a fight that I have to keep working on. But something I've been doing this week is I've been journaling like how I've been using my time. And that's really helped me keep myself accountable, because it's like, okay, I know that I have these amount of hour time slots left that I want to allocate to different things. I need to make sure that that happens.
Yeah, I think.
So yeah, I don't know. For myself, what I've been doing is breaking into very small, little, manageable chunks that I can hit every single day. And like the first one of those that I actually started this commitment for myself during a meditation class. I said, I want to not eat after midnight, which is a real challenge for me because I stay up really, really late, and that's something that I want to curb a bit. But the first thing I want to do is make sure after midnight I don't let myself eat, because obviously it's really bad if you eat right before you sleep for weight loss and stuff. So I was like, okay, this is a really clear thing that I can do. No eating after midnight. And you know, you have a few exceptions here and there, but for the most part, I've held myself to that. And that's like a really simple little thing that I can do every day. And I think the consistency of hitting it every day really builds up your momentum. I was kind of talking earlier about, I feel like I lost my momentum. That's like a little thing to build momentum. I think, I don't know where I heard this, but I know I heard this a long time ago, that it takes 22 actions 22 times to build a habit. It takes 22 consecutive times to break a habit.
Yeah.
So if you get in a habit, right, can be good or bad. So if you get in the habit of eating after midnight, you have to not eat after midnight 22 times in a row. If you, on the 21st day, and obviously it's not exact in that way, but if on, you know, right before it become a habit, you break that, resets the clock. So consistency, I think, for me, has been more important than, oh, I achieved something big. It's, I achieved this thing every day. And for me, that's been not eating after midnight. That's been 2 pages, because I'm working on a novel, right? That's a really big thing that won't be finished for a long time, but 2 pages. And I remember I was listening to a guy talking, saying, not 2 good pages. Don't hold yourself to that. 2 crappy pages a day. And I've held myself to that. And often I do more than 2 pages. You know, I think like 2 days ago I did 5, and I've done more than that, but 2 pages a day. I stretch every day, and I do just a little workout. It's not intense by any standards, but it's easy, and I can hold myself to it. You look like you wanted to.
Yeah, if I can jump in there. I really like this idea of 2 pages. They can be crappy, but just write 2 pages. I remember when I was in my college English class, one of my early classes, when I was studying, my teacher said to me, okay, guys, I want you to have a journal. Every great writer needs to do 2 things. They need to read voraciously and they need to write all the time. It doesn't have to be good writing, but you just need to be putting pen to paper and putting sentences together. And I took that to heart. And with her class, she would just count the pages. She wouldn't read anything that we wrote. She would just say, you need to fill out 10 pages a day or something. I can't remember what it was, but it got me writing at this furious pace. And I remember in probably by the time I graduated college, I had built up 20 journals. I had filled 20 journals, pretty big journals. I don't know how many pages that is, but thousands and thousands of pages, and it was total garbage.
Nah.
I mean, there were some gems in there. I get onto a good idea and I'd start writing some really coherent stuff, but I don't think that's the point. The point is putting your foot in motion and just getting the reps in. And this kind of takes me to what I want to talk about today. You look like you want to jump in there.
I really wanted to jump in because you know what that so much is isn't there saying like you need to execute a technique like 10,000 times before you master it, right? And that's exactly the same as your first million words that you write are going to be utter garbage in writing. So it's like you just need to put in the work. It's not going to be good. It's going to be really bad, and you're going to feel like, this punch is so weak. But you just need to consistently pound out those repetitions. Then back to you. But that's just what I wanted to say.
That actually reminded me of something else,
Awesome.
which I think is really important. There was a new student trying out the program the other day, and this happens all the time. I don't want to draw attention to her because I think it happens with almost all of my students when they first start out, where they are really self-conscious and they're worried about doing it incorrectly. So they basically clam up and don't do anything at all. And I think it is very important to just throw yourself into the motions. Now, there is another school of thought out there, which I think is equally true, but sometimes gets caught up in this and leads to people stalling out, which is that if you do it wrong many times in a row, you will develop a bad habit that will require like 22 times of doing it right to get it out of your body, right? And so if you do kind of a sloppy kick every single time, you're going to learn to do your kicks sloppy. And so you should always try to do it the right way every single time. That's true, but I think there's this sort of, everything is about a balance, and there's this sort of gray zone when you're first starting out that you really are not capable of doing it the way that I want you to do it. Your body doesn't know how to do it. Your mind doesn't even know how to do it, but certainly your body doesn't know how to do it. You may not have the flexibility, the strength, the stamina, all the sort of tools that you need to actually be able to do it the way I'm asking you to. So in the beginning, if you try too hard to be perfect, you'll prevent yourself from really going down the path. And it's once you're farther down the path that you're going to start becoming excellent. It's never at the very beginning. This kind of takes me to what I want to say a minute ago, which is, okay, so we can approach goal setting in a lot of different mediums. We could talk about, art or music or whatever, tickles your fancy. But I think we all can agree on one thing, because we're all doing martial arts, that physical fitness and doing martial arts is something that's important to us. And I want to talk a little bit about goal setting and that, which I think basically can, extrapolate out to anything, So as I see it, there's like kind of 2 phases to goal setting. Well, maybe there's 3, but there's 2 main starting phases. And one is the takeoff, and the other one is the flight, okay? And a lot of people go straight into the flight when they first start doing Taekwondo. They get in.
Really excited.
They're really excited. They've never done this before. Everything is new and exciting. And that's kind of one of the problems with people, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but that's one of the problems we have as people, is that we are always trying to ride the wave of excitement. So we'll do Taekwondo as long as it's exciting, like the first 6 months are really exciting. We're ramping up, we're getting in shape, our technique is coming along, we're getting really passionate. And then we start losing passion and we jump off onto something else and we start riding that wave. And it leads to kids who start doing Taekwondo when they're really young, but they get to be like a yellow belt, maybe a green belt, and they drop out. And they're like a yellow belt and green belt equivalent in like so many different sports, soccer and baseball and hockey and all these different things that they try over their lifetime, but they're never really excellent. I don't mean that to be harsh. It is not that hard to be excellent, guys. Being excellent means stay in your course. Pick something, do it with passion, put in the reps, and just do it for a long time, and you will become good. I guarantee it. You might not be #1 in the world, but you will be one of the better practitioners. Guaranteed. And so here's my thing. So I want to go back to where we were talking about these two different phases.
Takeoff and flight, yeah.
Yeah, so we have the takeoff and the flight. Now, most people, they jump right into the flight. There's a tiny little takeoff, maybe the first couple days where they're just feeling out the school, trying to feel if it's the right thing for them. As soon as they start making friends and they start like feeling like this is something that they excel at, they just take off right away and they get really into it and they get all jazzed. And that goes on for the first maybe 6 months. Actually, in Taekwondo or traditional martial arts, the statistics are about 9 months. The first 9 months are kind of that honeymoon phase where you're really, really jazzed about it. After about 9 months, you start feeling some fatigue. And that's when that first phase really comes back into play. People start wanting to touch down. And they don't have any plan when they touch down. They just say, you know, I want to take a break here for like this weekend, you know, and or this week. I want to take a week off. And pretty soon a week turns into a month, into a year, and they never come back to it. And that's unfortunate because they could have been really, really good at it if they had had a plan when they touched down. So I want to talk about how we can be successful in all of these 3 phases. So the first phase, when you're taking off, this is what I tell people. If you don't have somebody who's like looking over your shoulder and coaching you and telling you, you can do this and here's what you need to do to be successful, the very first thing, like for example, for me, like as an instructor who doesn't regularly train under my own master, I have to have a lot of self-motivation to get on the floor. And what I usually tell myself is, all right, it's early in the morning, you know, I'm sitting here in the dojo. I really don't want to go out there and train, but I say, just break a sweat. Okay, I just want you to throw yourself out there, do whatever you want to do. Go kick the bag, punch it, you know, do any kind of footwork, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. Just do what's fun and just break a sweat. Because by the time I break a sweat, I'm starting to get real jazzed about it. And that's when I start to say, okay, well, I'm going to stay here for another 10 minutes and I'm going to work on some of these other things. And maybe when I'm getting to my breaking the sweat point, I'm trying out some new technique and theory that I'm like, you know what, this is pretty cool. Maybe I can explore this a little bit. And I spend the next 50 minutes exploring that little concept of that kernel of an idea that turns into this whole, like, you know, exciting new theory that I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I'm going to really get good at this and see how this works in sparring. And that's what you need to do. So when you're first trying to take off, my suggestion is, don't have like a really intimidating first step. Don't say, all right, I'm going to do 100 push-ups today. Well, you're not going to do 100 push-ups. You're going to say, well, today I'm feeling a little tired. I don't think today is the right day for me to try doing 100 push-ups. Yeah. And so you put that day off forever. But if you say, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to do some push-ups. Maybe you do 2. Maybe you start to do 2. You think you're going to do 2 and you do 5. And then next time you go out there, you do 10. And it just builds up like this. I think that is a really important thing. Now, you always have to remember, this is why I always say break a sweat. You need to do enough that it's actually significant. You know, You might not need to break a sweat the very first time you step on the floor, but at some point you need to start breaking a sweat. You need to start forcing yourself to some kind of level of rigor that's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you're going to start rebuilding your body. And when your body starts to get, feeling good and your technique starts to get some nice snap, that's when you're going to get really excited. And that's when you take off. Your body's now feeling great. You're moving around. You're getting back into it. You're getting passionate again, and you're flying. And when you're flying, we have a very different game that we play, and that is keeping aloft. We're like a glider, and we got to constantly put wind under our wings to keep us afloat. And wind is basically repetitions. It's like throwing ourselves in. So we're like, okay, I'm going to, start trying to train one additional day. And I'm going to try to train another additional day. And I'm going to keep putting these new obstacles in my way to kind of lift me up and keep me going higher and higher and higher. Because in life, you're either doing two things. You're either going up or you're going down. You never really go like this. If you go like this for too long, you get super, super bored and you start going like this. You got to either be passionate and excited or you're falling. And so that takes us to the kind of the pseudo third phase, which is touchdown. At some point, you're going to have to touch down. Now, I can tell you, I've had times in my life where I've trained 2 or 3 times a week. And then I've had times in my life where I'm training 6 hours a day, 8 days a week. And even when I'm training at the very highest level, what?
8 days a week?
Oh, I'm sorry. 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. Yeah, I'm breaking the calendar, baby. Even when you're training like that, come Sunday, I'm like, I want to take a break, and rest up my body and rest up my mind and do something fun for myself because I don't want to always be doing martial arts. And it's pretty amazing how even when you're training that intensively, when come Monday, you're like, man, I just want to do this one more day. And then it turns into 2 days and 3 days. And then pretty soon you're just like everyone else. You were training so much harder than everyone else, but you're just like everyone else because you touched down without a plan. And I think that is really important. So I think you should never take a break if you're like kind of from a place of giving up. Oh, I'm feeling really fatigued. I just need some time to rest up and then I'll get back into the fight. No, you touch down with a plan. You say, okay, I realize that in order to become a really proficient martial artist, this is going to take many years of hard training. And I need to pace myself. And so I am going to take Sunday off so that my body can heal up and I can do something else so that I can keep excited about this. But on Monday, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do these exercises in this order. And this is my plan. This is what I'm going to be working on. And I think that is really, really important. I mean, I've been trying to take what I learned physically from physical training and apply it to my business. So like on Saturday's my last day here in the gym, and then I take Sunday off to spend time with my family. On Saturday, I'm trying to now plan, like, what am I going to do Monday morning when I come in? I don't have anyone, my boss, who's telling me you got to do this or that. I have to make up my own plan. Like, what am I doing on Monday morning? And I know that Saturday night when I go to bed. And I think that is really, really important because you get way out of control. If you just touch down randomly without any plan, you're just going to stay grounded.
Yeah. I don't know if you had more that you wanted to talk about that. I had this idea as you were starting that of, when we're young, we get a lot of encouragement, even when we're not that proficient. So like, I remember like, a kid draws a little drawing and we go, oh, that's really, really good. And you get that encouragement that helps you take off. But when we get older, one, we have a better appreciation for like how bad we are at the stuff that we're trying to start. And so we get really self-conscious and we don't get people saying like, oh, that's really good. Or if they are, we kind of know that they're just kind of pandering to us. And so how much more difficult it is to start up things, to build that momentum as we get older. That's definitely something that I have felt in my own personal experience.
That really brings me to a different topic, but I think it's kind of related to this, which is in this current day and age,
Mm.
Seeing the top is just too easy, and it's very discouraging. I think one of the reasons why people are really suffering with depression, there's a lot of them, especially right now with COVID-19 and isolation and all that kind of stuff, but depression started a lot way before this. There was a huge spike in depression back in 2013, probably due to social media, but I think also a lot of it was due to like YouTube and being able to see like Dude Perfect. The guy like throws like a fork like 300 feet and like lands in like an ice cream cone. And you're like, that's the bar now. If you want to do something cool, I remember my friend in college, he was like, man, I remember one time I was sitting in class and my friend asked me for a pen and I like threw it back to him and it like stuck in his cheese sandwich or something. And it was like the coolest thing in the world. And we were both like, amazing. But now that's not cool. That's not the bar of success. And like for me, for example, in martial arts, right? When I started training, I thought I was the big cheese because I was the best one in my school. But then I went to a tournament and I was like, man, there's some really good people out here. I was like deer in the headlights. Wow, they are so aggressive and everything. And then once I started competing, I was winning those regional tournaments. And then I went to state, and state was like, whoa, this is a different level. These guys are really good. And then I won state, and I went to nationals. And I was like, wow, this is a totally different level. And then I went nationals, and I went over to Korea. And I'm like, whoa, these guys are really good. And now people just see the best people in the world
right from
day one.
Yeah.
And that's what they're comparing themselves to. And it's debilitating. It's just way too good. It's just way too
daunting
to tackle. It's like that goal setting, right? You got to take those small steps. So I actually encourage people, not to watch too much stuff that's like too much excellence, or you're going to really psych yourself out. Like focus on yourself and enjoy being crappy. Just enjoy the moment, enjoy your little circle. And when you finally are the best in your little pool pond and you go out to the next level, you'll be a little surprised, but that's okay. And it's going to be exciting. It'll be like a chance for you to grow beyond your old boundaries, your own limitations. And, this is kind of a tangent, but just one thing I like to remind my younger viewers is, look, there's all these life hacks that you can watch now. You can watch a video of like 120 life hacks, right? I remember a time when I discovered a few life hacks on my own, and it was the coolest thing in the world. And I remember when my friends showed me a few life hacks that they had discovered on their own, and I was like, that is so cool. And one of the things I worry about us as a society, this is getting a little bit on a tangent, but I think it's sort of adjacent information, is like, if you don't leave room for learning, everything will become like blasé.
Yeah.
That's one thing I worry about our society right now. I sometimes see like YouTube creators and they'll say, oh, I don't want to do this particular craft or whatever because someone's already done it really well and I'm just going to leave them to do it and I'm going to work on my own things. Guys, everyone's done everything. Pretty soon, everyone will have done everything that's ever been done. There's going to be a video up there, okay? So the key here is don't ruin the surprise. If, you look at like Elon Musk and he's talking about like a Neuralink and stuff like that, where you could have the entire internet stuck up in your brain. Do you know how that's really exciting? Those people are going to be like gods on earth, the first people with that shit. But also, your life is going to be miserable. When you know everything that there is, there's no sense of discovery left.
No sense of wonder.
No sense of wonder. So don't ruin it for yourself. It's like the little kid who gets the cheat code and he cheats the game like on day one. And then he's like, this is boring. I've already flown around in the sky and shot lightning bolts out of my hands and killed all the big baddies in like 2 seconds. Well, now I've just ruined the game for myself. Don't ruin the game for yourself. Enjoy the little steps along the way. Enjoy your ineptitude. become the best in your little pond and then move up to a bigger pond, and just don't ruin the surprise for yourself before you get there.
Mm-hmm.